Today we are going to discuss the second topic of environmental studies and disaster management, that is natural resources, renewable and non-renewable resources. This term renewable and non-renewable uh, comes to our mind, comes in various subjects many times, several times. So we all, most probably, we all know about what is renewable and what are non-renewable resources. So we'll discuss in depth about this. Our environment provides us with a variety of goods and services that are necessary for our day-to-day lives. These natural resources include air, water, soil, minerals, along with the climate and solar energy, which form the non-living or abiotic part of nature. The biotic or living parts of nature consist of plants and animals. That also includes microbes. Coming to the natural resources, any material which can be transformed in a way that it becomes more valuable and useful can be termed as a resource, or a resource is anything needed by an organism or a group of organisms. So, anything which we need, which is needed by human beings or an organism or a group of organism, can be termed as a resource. Thus, only part of our natural environment such as land, water, air, minerals, forest, rangeland, wildlife, fish, or even human population that man can utilize to promote his welfare can be called as natural resource. So all the natural components which are present in the environment and that can be utilized, even the human population that can be utilized for doing some activities. So these all things combinedly, uh, which we can utilize for our welfare, can be called as natural resource. In the case of humans, a resource is any form of energy of matter essential for the fulfillment of physiological, socio-economical, and cultural needs, both at the individual level and that of the community. The sum of all physical, chemical, biological, and social factors which compose the surroundings of man is referred as environment, and each element of these surroundings constitutes a resource on which the man draws in order to develop a better life. So, these are the different factors which compose the surrounding of man, and combinedly it is referred as environment. And each components of the environment, or say like each component of the surroundings, they form a resource on which man relies for several activities or to developing a better life. Talking about ecological variables, basically five ecological variables are there: energy, matter, space, time, and diversity. And these combinedly sometimes are called as natural resources. So, starting from solar energy, the available oil, fish resource, tree or forest resource, water resources, timber, which are obtained from forest resources, metals, animals, oxygen, fossil fuels, atmosphere, natural gas, various minerals, flowers, crops, plants, oceans, energy, different forms of energy, birds, coal, soil. This all can be examples of natural resources. These all are found in different at different locations, in different form of species, in different form of quantity, quality, etc., etc. So, moving to the next. From these slides, we can see the different, say, like different resources. Like from the first image, it is water resource. Um, from this resource, we get several food items. We get several outcomes or outputs which we consume. Similarly, from this water resource, the water we directly consume. The water we can use for generating energy, for recreational work, as well as several other advantages of or outcome of this resource or products of this water resource we utilize, the human beings are utilizing, not only from now but from ancient time. So next one is wind energy. So by installation of windmill, we can harvest the energy which is generated from wind. And nowadays it is very commonly used in several countries at several places to consume to harvest the wind energy, and you store that energy and to utilize whenever there is requirement of energy. So this is a kind of say like alternate energy source which does not require any fossil fuel, and this is a green energy source. Similarly, a solar resource, say like power of sun or solar harvesting, these can be utilized for generation of energy. Then mining, from this image we can see that mining is being done. So fossil fuel is extracted through the process of mining, and that fossil fuel is used to generate energy which is required by several industries, several machineries, etc. Then the last image is for drilling, for extraction of oil. So the oil is nowadays the say like one of the majorly used fuel which is highly required nowadays. So these all different types of energy or source of energy are available in the environment near our surroundings, and from several years or from centuries human beings are harvesting these all energies and they are utilizing for completing their activities, or in another word we can say they are utilizing these resources for developing their life in much better way. So the resources are limited and can be categorized in two parts, either it is renewable or non-renewable resources. So renewable and non-renewable resources are categorization of resources. Under renewable resources, solar energy, air, wind, water, tides, flowing, soil, plants. Under non-renewable, fossil fuel, oil, coal, natural gas, metallic minerals, iron, copper, aluminum, and non-metallic minerals like salt, phosphates, etc. are uh, considered. So this is the classification of renewable and non-renewable. Um, Talking about classification of renewable and non-renewable energy sources, the classification depends on several factors. It depends on the aspect on which aspect we are classifying. If it is on the economic aspect, slight change will be there. Whereas when we consider the aspect of environment, there will be slightly change than the economic type of classification. But a commonly used classification of renewable and non-renewable is given on this slide. Few more images are given of renewable and non-renewable, like solar energy, water, wind energy are renewable resources. Once we harvest and utilize that energy, again it is available for harvesting and utilizing. Whereas under non-renewable resources such as phosphate, oil, limestone, once we extract it, say like limestone or phosphate or coal, once we extract it, that place is empty. It will be never reclaimed, or from the same place we can never uh, again go for mining or extraction of the same material. It is emptied now. So for that reason it is considered as non-renewable, means once we utilize, it is not going to renew again. Similar case is for oil. If we are drilling and extracting oil from the wells, it is again never going to be renewed. That wells will never be refilled, even though when in case of few oil wells which are say like renewed, the process is very slow. So basically what happens in oil industry is they, wherever the oil is suspected to be found, they drill it. If they find it, they extract whole crude oil and they leave that well empty and they move to further place. So these all are the resources which can be considered as non-renewable resources. So basic differences is like renewable resources, it gets renewed again and again. We continuously for several times we can say like harvest it and we can utilize for several completing several activities or to develop our lifestyle or daily life. Whereas in case of non-renewable resources, once it is extracted or once it is harvested, it doesn't renew. So we will never get the same resource at same point or same place. So this is the basic difference between renewable and non-renewable resources. So there are further classification of natural resources. Classifications are based on several factors. The first one is on the basis of quantity. So on the basis of quantity, first one is inexhaustible, that is more in quantity, abundance in quantity. So it is unlimited or non-ending or unending type of material or resource. Both qualitative and quantitative degradation. Examples can be hydroelectric power, wave and tidal power, wind power, energy sources, water resources. So, say like wind power, then water resources, wave and tidal power, they are abundance in the quantity. It will never end. Something which will never end. Continuously, we can harvest energy from all those resources. Second one is exhaustible type, which is very less in quantity, also, it is limited. Then quality may be degraded, not quantity. Like examples can be fossil fuel, natural gas, minerals, iron, copper, and aluminium. So once these type of natural resources are harvested or extracted, it is never going to be renewed. It is at the end or almost stopped. So due to this reason, it is considered under exhaustible type of natural resource classified on the basis of quantity. So coming to the next slide, that is second classification on the basis of mutability. So renewable and non-renewable resource are two classifications on the basis of mutability. The first one is renewable, that is perpetual harvest, say like human power, fertility of soil. It can be renewable. It can be refilled again. It can be replenished. It can be regenerated. Whereas non-renewable resource, there is no replacement, like a species of wildlife. Once it is ended, it will never come again. So this can be called as non-renewable resources. The last classification is based on continual utility. So there are three classifications: renewable, non-renewable, and cyclic resources. So these are different classifications of resources, natural resources. Basically, this classification is through the aspect of environment or environmental science. When we talk in different aspects, we are going to come across several more different type of classifications. So I suggest the students not to be confused. These classifications are basically based on the what aspect we are talking about. Environmental aspect will have some different classification. Economic aspect will have some different classification. Furthermore, depending on the need, there will be several more different classifications you can find at different places. So that's it for today's lecture. So, dear students, today we are going to discuss ecological succession. Ecological succession is a process through which ecosystems tend to change over a period of time. Succession can be related to seasonal environmental changes, which create changes in the community of plants and animals living in the ecosystem. Other successional events may take much longer period of time, extending to several decades. The successive stages are related to the way in which energy flows through the biological system. So in the previous lecture, we have discussed about several energy cycles, several energy flow, different food chain, food web. So depending on all these activities, ecological succession occurs. Few successions are rapid, which can be observed very easily among the changes among the community of plants and animals, whereas few successional events are there which take too long period, several years or decades, which cannot be observed without some analysis. So we'll discuss in depth about ecological succession. Food chain. A food chain shows how each living thing gets their food. We know that some animals eat plants and some animals eat other animals, like bigger animals, they eat smaller animals. A food chain always starts with plant life and ends with an animal. Plants are called producers because they are able to use light energy from the sun to produce food, sugar from carbon dioxide and water. In the previous slide, we have discussed in the previous lecture that plants are called producers. Why? The reason is because they are able or sufficient enough to make their food using light or light energy from the sun. Animals cannot make their own food, so they have to eat plants or other animals. Therefore, they are called as consumers. Animals and people who eat both animals and plants are called omnivorous. Then there are decomposers, bacteria and fungi, which feed on decaying materials. These decomposers are very important part of any ecosystem because without them, decaying process will last for long duration. Thus, it will create several environmental problems. So these two images are there. These images are very helpful in understanding the difference between a food chain and food web. So a food chain rotates in a single cycle, whereas a food web is not in a cyclic form, but it is related and interrelated with each other. One component is related to several other components, whereas in a food chain, single component is related to just on a single component. Talking about food webs, there cannot be too many links in a single food chain because the animal at the end of the chain would not get enough food and hence energy to stay alive. Therefore, there is a single linkage between different food components or between different components. Most animals are part of more than one food chain and eat more than one kind of food in order to meet their food and energy requirement. These interconnected food chains form a food web. So food web is a advanced interconnected form of food chains. These interdependence of the populations within a food chain helps to maintain the balance of plant and animal populations within a community. Ecological pyramids. In an ecosystem, green plants, the producers, utilize energy directly from sunlight and convert it into matter. A large number of these organisms form the most basic or first trophic level of the food pyramid. The herbivorous animals that eat plants are at the second trophic level and are called as primary consumers. The predators that feed on them form the third trophic level and are known as secondary consumers. Only a few animals form the third trophic level, consisting of carnivores at the apex of the food pyramid. This is how energy is used by living creatures and flow through the ecosystem from its base to the apex. So these two images are very helpful in understanding the terrestrial based food pyramid and aquatic based food pyramid. So you can see from the image of first image, that is of terrestrial food pyramid, on the apex is man and animals. They rely on food items of smaller animals. On the second stage from the top, there is sheep. Say like on the apex is omnivorous, then herbivorous, and at the last is the plants which are producers. In case of aquatic food pyramid, we see man on the apex, then there is fish, then microscopic primary producers, and at the bottom is primary producers. So this is the difference between terrestrial food pyramid and aquatic food pyramid. There are different type of ecosystem. In the previous several lectures, we have discussed about ecosystem. Now in depth, we'll discuss about different types of ecosystem. Generally, two classifications are there: terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. So this terrestrial ecosystem is land-based ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem is water-based ecosystem. So examples of terrestrial or land-based ecosystem can be a forest, a grassland, a semi-arid area, a desert, mountain, or an island. Whereas in case of aquatic or water-based ecosystem, a small unit of pond, lake, or wetland, or a river, a delta, or a marine can be considered as aquatic ecosystem. So we'll discuss about these different types of ecosystem, that is forest, grassland, semi-arid area, desert, mountain, island, pond, lake, wetland, river, delta, and marine. First one is forest type of ecosystem. From the image itself, it is clear that within a forest, what are the different communities, different species which are residing. We all know that within the forest there are several type of animals, birds are present. So forests are formed by a community of plants which is predominantly structurally defined by trees, shrubs, climbers, and ground cover. The landscapes that make up various types of forests look very different from each other. Each forest type forms a habitat for a specific community of animals that are adopted to live in it. For each forest type, there are different type of forests, and each forest type have different type of habitat. They have different type of community of animals as well as plant. They are adopted to live in those situations. So talking about different types of forests, the forest type depends upon the abiotic factors such as climate and soil characteristics of a region. Forests in India can be broadly divided into coniferous, coniferous forests and broadleaf forests. So on a broad level, two classifications of forests can be seen. One is coniferous forest and second one is broadleaf forest. They can also be classified according to the nature of their tree species: evergreen, deciduous, xerophytic, or thorn trees and mangrove trees. So these different type of or nature of tree species can be observed in different geographical features. Like the type of species, tree species which are available in the forest area of Rajasthan will not be seen in the forest area of Assam or Bangladesh, because the situation or geographical features, climatic parameters, soil type, availability of water differs from each other. They can also be classified according to the most abundant species of trees such as sal or teak forest. So first one is coniferous forest. So from the image we can see the structure, the built up of the vegetation of tree or species of trees. Coniferous forests grow in the Himalayan mountain region where the temperature are very low. These forests have tall stately trees with needle-like leaves and downward sloping branches. They have cones instead of seeds and are called as gymnosperms. So the seeds are called as gymnosperms of this type of species of trees. So from the image we can see that the forest is this type of forest is dominated with tall stately trees with needle-like leaves, spokey leaves, and the branches are downward sloping. Generally, in this area, there is snowfall. Therefore, when these leaves of this type of tree are in form of needle, also the branches are sloping in downward direction. So when there is heavy snowfall, in that case, the branches are and the leaves do not get damaged due to the weight of snow. That is why this type of vegetation is possible in this region, whereas the broad leaf plants are generally not seen in this type of area, because due to snowfall or heavy snowfall, those branches of those kind of tree species cannot survive. So that is the reason similar type of or each type of forest has its own species of trees, animals, etc. So broadleaf forests have few classifications like evergreen forest, deciduous forest, thorn forest, and at the last it is mangrove forest. So evergreen forests they are found in higher rainfall area of Western Ghats, northeastern India, and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. They look green throughout the year. The trees overlap with each other to form a continuous canopy. These type of forests are rich in orchids and ferns. The barks of the trees are covered in moss. The forest abounds in animal life and is most rich in insect life. The reason for its richness in insect life is because this area falls under high rainfall zone, so moisture is present in the soil. Additionally, when there are high rate of vegetation or dense vegetation is there, the dry leaves fall on the ground surface, and there is a plenty of opportunity for detrivorous to be here because they will get sufficient amount of their food items. Additionally, herbivorous animals will also be found in this region because plenty of food items, greenery for them will be here. Similarly, a variety of birds will also be observed here because plenty of food items for their survival is available in this type of forest. Deciduous forests. This type of forests are found in region with a moderate amount of seasonal rainfall that lasts only for a few months. Most of the forests in which teak tree grow are of this type. The deciduous trees shed their leaves during the winter and hot summer months. In March or April, they regain their fresh leaves just before the monsoon when they grow vigorously in response to the rains. Thus, there are periods of leaf fall and canopy regrowth. The forest frequently has a thick undergrowth as light can penetrate easily onto the forest floor. So, these type of forests are also very suitable for several animals, birds, etc. Next is thorn forest. So, thorn forests are found in semi-arid regions of India. The trees, which are sparsely distributed, are surrounded by open grassy areas. Thorny plants are called xerophytic species. and are able to conserve a lot of water. Some of these trees have small leaves, while other species have thick, waxy leaves to reduce water losses during transpiration. Thorn forest trees have long or fibrous roots to reach water at great depths. Many of these plants have thorns which reduce water loss and protect them from herbivorous animals. So from this image we can see that most of the trees are having thick and waxy leaves, though size is small. So these type of formation helps them out in preserving water or allowing minimum water loss through evaporation or evapotranspiration. Because this type of forest and vegetation is found in dry regions of India, or say like where minimum rainfall or very low rainfall is there. So in that case, the structure or formation of these species are formed in such a way that they can survive in the drought condition or water scarcity condition. The leaves are thick, waxy. The roots are very long and fibrous so that they can reach to the underground, they can penetrate to maximum depth in search of water, lift water. Also, additionally, in this type of forest, we can see that most of the leaves are or plants have thorns like structure. So, this helps them out in protection against the herbivorous animals which consumes vegetation as their food. So next is mangrove forest. Mangrove forests grow along the coast, especially in river deltas. These plants are able to grow in a mix of saline and fresh water. They grow luxuriantly in muddy areas covered with silt that the river has brought down. The mangrove trees have breathing roots that emerge from the mud bank. So this type from this image we can understand we might have seen this type of forest in uh, various TV shows. There are several documentaries on geographical aspects, environmental aspects. In those type of documentaries, these type of forests are easily visible. So there are different producers from forest. We have discussed these all things in previous lectures also. What are the direct produce from the forest? Fruits, different varieties of fruits can be produced and collected and used from the forest area. Roots for medicinal purpose, for decorative items can be collected or generated. Several medicinal produce like gloriosa, foxglove, fuel wood. Many species of trees and shrubs are in such a form that they are highly suitable for fuel wood and they are harvested and collected for that purpose. Small timber for building huts and houses they can be. collected from the forest area, wood for farm implements. Additionally, bamboo and cane for preparation of baskets and several other items are nowadays prepared. At the last, grasses for grazing and stall feeding of livestock can be collected and directly used from the forest area. Few indirect uses of forest produce are also there, like building material for construction and furniture for the urban sector, medicinal products collected and processed into several drugs, gums and resins produced into a variety of products, raw materials for industrial products and chemicals, then paper from bamboo and softwoods are also collected for from the forest area. So we can see that there are several produce either directly or indirectly which can be absorbed from forest area. So you can spare 1 minute of time or 2 minutes and think and not note down that what all forest produce you have consumed until now. You look in your surrounding at your home, you try to find out or list the items which are at your home which has been directly or indirectly the produce from forest area. So think it and then we'll move to the next slide. Okay, so I hope until now you have tried to observe several items in your surrounding, in your home that has been generated or collected either directly or indirectly. They are the part of or produce of forest. If we try to analyze several furnitures in our home that are the farmer forest produce, several food items, the drugs or medicine which we consume, then the wooden materials like door, windows, these all are the produce which we are regularly using, which has been produce from the forest area. So, in previous slides, in previous lectures, we have discussed about uh, how rural as well as urban population is dependent for several requirement from the forest area. So now at the end, there are few MCQs, few questions. You have to read, go back to the PPTs, and then you will get answers for this questions. So the first one is ecological succession is a process through which ecosystem tends to change over a period of time. So whether it is true or a false statement, you read it and choose the correct option. Succession can be related to seasonal environmental changes which create changes in the community of plants and animals living in the ecosystem. Choose the correct option, whether it is false statement or a true statement. Other successional events may take much longer periods of the time, extending to several decades. We have discussed this topic during the discussion, so choose the correct option, whether it is true or a false. The successive stages are related in the way in which energy flows through the biological system. Choose the correct option, false or true. Next question is a food chain shows how each living thing gets its food. So whether it is a false statement or a true statement, choose the appropriate. Next question is a food chain always starts with plant life and ends with an animal. Next question. Plants are called producers because they are able to use light energy from the sun to produce food from carbon dioxide and water. Choose the correct option, either it is true or false. Animals cannot make their own food, so they must eat plants or other animals and are called as consumers. Choose the correct option, whether it is false or true statement. In an ecosystem, green plants are the producers which utilize energy directly from sunlight and convert it into matter. So choose the correct option, whether it is true or false. The herbivorous animals that eat plants are at the second trophic level and are called primary consumers. So choose the correct option. Is it a false statement or a true statement? So we see that several forests have different variety of produce. Different species are found in different type of forest, in different type of ecosystem. But from this PPT as well as the PPTs or the topics which we have discussed earlier, we see that each and every component of the ecosystem is highly important. We cannot leave a single component because if a single component is gone out of the system, the whole system is going to be disturbed. Even we see a very important role of all the detritivores, several insects, how important they are in the ecosystem. Without them, sustainability of any ecosystem is not possible. Whereas the bigger part, say like bigger animals, human beings, these are also equally important. So being human, we should not think about to conquer everything. There is equal right of every component of an ecosystem to survive in this world, because each and every ecosystem has its own, each and every component of ecosystem has its own duty to be in the system, to work for the system. So that's all for today's lecture. Questions are uploaded on Moodle. You can log in and uh, go through the MCQs and attempt it and complete it. PPTs are also uploaded. You can go to download and go through all those PPTs. So thank you.